Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of the CoinSec podcast. The CoinSec podcast is a podcast about cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies with a focus on securing them. We definitely get off topic and talk about other things like price speculation and whatnot, but we try to keep it kind of focused around security to try to help bring our knowledge base from the information security realm a bit more over to the cryptocurrency side. So you have today with me Steve Borosh. Hey, Steve, what's going on there?
Hey, doing great.
You have Ralph May. What's up, Ralph?
I made it back.
You survived San Francisco.
Yes, it was nice, but I survived.
You have Mike Felch.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, Mike?
Recovering.
Recovering from loss of crypto or?
Recovering from flu, Florida weather.
Yeah, man. Oh, I can relate. Yeah, it's been like 40 here in Florida, and that's too cold. And then you have myself, Bo Bullock, and this week we don't have any guests this week, but we're gonna try to. We've actually talked with a few people that I think would be interesting guests that we're gonna hopefully have in future episodes. But today you have us four, so. Hopefully that's enough for you.
Our powers combined.
Yes, exactly.
I know we need like a Captain Planet theme song or something with like different cryptocurrencies involved in there somehow.
Sounds of raining cryptocurrencies.
With our private keys combined.
Everyone's going to be waiting for this now. Like, where is it? Where is it? You said you would do it.
Hey, that's like, didn't the Winklevoss twins split up their private keys? Anyone know what I'm talking about?
No clue.
No clue. They probably did.
So do you know who the Winklevoss twins are, Mike?
Oh yeah, I try to avoid them.
Okay.
Them and their infamous legacy.
Yeah. So for those listening who don't know who they are, they won a court battle against Mark Zuckerberg for the alleged ownership, or I guess the starting of Facebook, and they got like 14 million a few years ago, and then they put it all into Bitcoin. And now, as of today, like I don't think that would still be. I don't think they're still considered the first ever Bitcoin billionaires, just because the prices came back a little bit. But when it was around like I think it was like 17 or 18,000, they were announced as being the first ever Bitcoin billionaires.
Mm-hmm. Right, and now they have the Gemini trading platform.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't actually checked that out yet. Have you taken a look at that, Steve?
Yeah, it's pretty slick. There's only a couple coins. The top, I think, like Litecoin, ETH, and Bitcoin. But everything's supposed to be regulated, whatever that means.
Nice.
In this market. Yeah, so everything's like state regulated in the state of New York.
That's right.
So it seems like they're on the right track. And I think that's kind of what they're going for, is kind of be more like a trustworthy source in the U.S. than some of the places out there that you dabble your currency into,
like Coinbase.
So I haven't used it yet, but can you just add a U.S. bank account and everything like that? I mean, no issues.
Yeah. Well, no, they do actual checks. I think background checks and everything.
Okay.
And it took, I think, about a week for me to get my account verified. So.
Cool.
But
the
yeah,
money transfers pretty fast.
Yeah, and it goes right to your direct deposit and all that kind of stuff. So
that's interesting. That
pretty legit. Yeah.
That kind of used to be the way Coinbase was for a while. I remember when I first signed up for it, the same process took like a week to verify and all. But now, like it takes like minutes if you just sign up with a credit card. You can get instant pretty quick, but. There's issues there. There's been a number of issues related to Coinbase, and I guess like the different volumes that they try to handle from time to time. They've had issues with, obviously like the issue of dropping Bcash out there, and then the exchange kind of getting locked up. That was an issue. So I definitely am interested in checking out Gemini. So I'll probably hit that up pretty soon.
Yeah, I personally had an issue with Coinbase where I just tried to transfer like some coins out of it, and it took like a good 24 hours before they even hit the blockchain. So yeah, that was fun. Anyways.
So back to the Winkle Vi, as they're known, because they're twins. There's two of them, Winkle Vi instead of Winklevoss. So the Winkle Vi, allegedly, from what I've heard, is that they have actually like split private keys up and like have them in like safety deposit boxes around the world, something like that, because they're in, I guess, for the long haul, right? Like they're in it to hold for a while. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that from like a security side? I mean, it's one thing just to like have them in a hardware wallet, but what about like straight up like splitting up the keys and then keeping them separately around the world?
Well, I don't know about around the world, but maybe in different parts of my house, because I literally just lost a Verge wallet because on my encrypted drive, I've got one of those encrypted drives with the actual number pads on them, the Kingstons, and just me having 1,000 tabs and folders open at any given time in the day, I hit delete on my encrypted drive and wiped out my only my seed and all that stuff for my Verge wallet. Luckily, I didn't lose too much, but yeah, and then that makes you wonder like how many of those wallets and stuff are out there are left, and those coins are never to be returned because people didn't secure their stuff. So I think splitting it up is a great idea.
Yeah, especially with how much money they're talking. I mean, geez, I don't think there's any precaution to do.
Well, so the thing that I guess the actual so the way that the way I should probably describe this is not just splitting up like as in like copying the private key, like legitimately like just taking like half of the private key and putting it at one spot, half of the other private or the rest of the private key and putting it in another spot. So even if you lost one of those,
are they really tiny in a little locket, and then they match them together like little twin brother powers combined, and they produce Bitcoin.
It's like it's one of those hard coin Bitcoins, and they just they cut it in half.
The consensus coin, is that what it's called? Consensus?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the name. Either way, yes, like the real hard coin. Yeah, they cut it. I could just see him with like the Dremel. Like, we must do this.
Sounds like a horrible idea. What do they DD the block, like start at block 0 and jump to like do it in the 64-bit blocks or something stupid. Sounds like a horrible idea.
Well, and the other thing to kind of think about is like, I mean, so from a natural disaster perspective, right? Like, let's say I take my actual private key, full-on private key, and then store that in multiple locations. That's one thing, but taking just half of it, unless there's backups of that around the world somehow, having just like that one piece of it in a place that could be destroyed potentially by like any natural disaster, fire, whatever, then you lose everything.
Well, I mean, just put it in an S3 bucket.
Yeah. safest storage of all. Please do.
Use your root key too. So.
We promise we will not find it.
Speaking of, yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so today is January 24th, 2018. The market has been just kind of bouncing around a bit since last week. There hasn't been any real crazy dips or spikes. We're sitting at about $550 billion in overall market cap. And that's up about like 6 from last week. And, like I said, it's been kind of bouncing around. Bitcoin's at 11,318. Ethereum's at 1,048. Ripple is at $1.35. I don't know, guys, any interesting price points you wanted to hit today?
They've been all over the place. I'll look in the morning and I'll be like, man, Bitcoin's come out with a tumble. And then it's like, nope, it's back up. And then it's back down. And it's back up. And like, normally it would be like, oh, if it's a couple $100, but when we're talking like, $2,000 swings in one day, sometimes it's just all over. But it seems to be holding. It's still around the same area. But yeah, I don't know.
I think
hold it for life.
Yeah, I think one of the more interesting things that I've noticed about, especially the latest span of the ups and downs, has been everything has been going up and down with Bitcoin. So it makes it really hard to kind of analyze any specific coins that are kind of standing out on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to like say like, okay, like, all right, Bitcoin's down $1,000, but I don't know, like XLM is up, but it's hard to really kind of tell, like because it's really down, but it's coming up in regards to Bitcoin. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Does it become a kind of like a stale, like, I don't know, analysis when it comes to like looking at altcoins whenever Bitcoin's jumping around so much?
You know what's kind of interesting about that is that, like, historically, that's kind of how it's always been. Like, Bitcoin went up a bunch, then altcoins just all started coming up. And then, when the big rush came, it seemed like there was different players and altcoins that were making money. And now it seems like it's gone back to that motion where, Bitcoin goes down, they all go down. They're kind of all like moving in like a wave, right? I don't know. We'll see. It does kind of suck though, especially if you're trying to call some of these or maybe try to make money. Even though I can't imagine how you could call these swings like, oh yeah, tomorrow's going to be the day. So I don't know.
Yeah, there was on the news this morning. I can't remember which channel it was on, but the guy was predicting that the market. And he's like, you know what? He's like, we can't do it. You just got to hold and be willing to hold through 50% swings in any given day, and that's huge. You try to compare that to the stock market, and that's just not going to happen like that.
I wonder if we're looking at the wrong signals too, because the traditional stock market is looking at the kind of the financial value and looking at all the other areas that they would always look at for all the years. But we're entering like a whole new focus, and with these, there's so many more data points that we could examine to try to pull signals from that seems to be going under the radar. I mean, we got block sizes, we got mining, like with Ethereum, we got gas limits and gas prices and all of these things that real world currencies don't have. So even trying to compare the volatility or the swings and trying to do some sort of prediction based on the old models that we have for our currencies, I don't think that's I don't think we're doing it right. And I think if we start looking at some of the other more technical signals that are available, we could probably identify why it's happening. I mean, even looking at like coin market cap and kind of stepping through the different currencies that are in there, and seeing that, yeah, you're right, there are a lot of them that are floating kind of with Bitcoin, but there's also a lot that aren't. And I'm wondering if there's something there that's maybe being overlooked. I mean, I could see new coins coming on, but what about some other elements where we don't necessarily see that same pattern and effect that's taken place? I mean, I'm wondering if we could drill in a little bit and start seeing new kind of the finance guys jump into this area a little bit more focused.
Well, we all know the number one indicator for cryptocurrencies jumping up and down, right?
Yes. McAfee.
Yeah. McAfee's coin of the week.
Has he been tweeting more often?
Again,
I'm not sure.
We definitely need to say this is not financial advice. Do not listen to us. Yeah. Do not invest in cryptocurrency without making your own research. Anyways, no, I agree. I totally agree with you, Mike, on those points. I mean, there's so many elements. There's so many new things happening in this spectrum that it's really, really hard to predict. And with it's super easy for a single day to go by and $100 billion to either go in or out of this market. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in any news, really, any bad news, always. I can't say any bad news because there are definitely websites that just love to hate on cryptocurrency, but then like legit things, like maybe South Korea is going to ban these exchanges or whatever, like that kind of stuff does totally affect the market, I think.
Yeah, it has been kind of interesting to see the especially the articles that come out that are like, so-and-so says Bitcoin's going to be great or cryptocurrencies are going to change the world. And then they're like, well, so-and-so doesn't believe that. And it just kind of goes back and forth. And people are like, well, should I buy or should I sell? What about this guy? I don't know. It just, I don't know if that should affect the price like it does. But
yeah, like Warren Buffett says.
Yeah, exactly. Warren Buffett is sure that he knows everything about this.
About cryptocurrency.
Fake news.
Yeah, it's fake news. I mean, like seriously, he's a smart guy. He's made a bunch of money, but he knows nothing about Bitcoin. Like, zero things. Like, there's most people who have a ton of Bitcoins and they don't understand it, right? Like, like owning it is different than understanding it. So I don't know. It's
So
just,
actually,
it's funny though.
That brings up a good point. So apparently 50 Cent, the rapper, accepted Bitcoin like 2 years ago, and now it has like 100 Bitcoins.
I get to see him coming out with like the 50 cent coin, and I mean, I don't know, it just seems catchy, right?
It's just funny. So like, one of the larger holders of Bitcoin is 50 Cent.
We should try to email him and tell him that we can convert his Bitcoins to 50-cent coins.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
We'll give him like the pre-sale ICO coin.
We should have him on the show and ask him like, why did he buy Bitcoins? Like, or why did he decide to accept it? That'd be great. He's probably gonna be like, no, we're not going on your show. But didn't
Mariah Carey accept Monero like not too long ago?
Yeah, I think so. Also, Ghostface Killa also came out with a cryptocurrency company called Cream Capital.
I must invest. That's an instant buy. I'm sure that was tweeted by McAfee.
And they're looking to raise $30 million during their ICO.
Wait, so this is new?
Yeah, came out in Rolling Stone. I think.
Wow. It's crazy. I mean, if you're an artist, why not? I don't know, not necessarily start an ICO, but why not accept it? I mean, the majority of your sales these days like go to like royalties anyway. I guess it really comes down to your recording company for the most part, right? Because if they allow you to sell it for crypto, that'd be very interesting. I guarantee you though, like any major artist started accepting crypto, like there'd be a ton of people that would jump on that just for the sake of saying that they bought it with crypto.
What was it? Not so long ago, there was a news article, and I can't remember who it was. Was this guy from Chicago Bulls who used to play in Chicago Bulls?
Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, Dennis Rodman. He was wearing a T-shirt that said, yeah, right, name them all, Potcoin. And I guess that was a coin. And I was like, what is Potcoin? And like the marketing worked, right? Like it made me guess, like, what is it? I had to go look it up. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, and it had gone up a bunch of money that one day after he wore it. I'm like, geez, now I know how to advertise my new coin.
And then you asked, how do you mine it? And they said, no, you don't mine it, you smoke it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. All right, let's jump into the news. Okay, so first story up: North Korea hacking South Korean exchanges. So we have seen, I guess, a rise in the number of South Korean exchanges that have been allegedly hacked by North Korea. So in February of 2017, there was a pretty huge hack against was it Bitum, I believe, and then. So this U.S. cybersecurity firm, Recorded Futures, released a new report linking the Lazarus Group, which, if you are familiar with the WannaCry ransomware or the Sony hacks, that would be the same group from North Korea. That they're using similar tactics to hack into exchanges. So apparently they're using that same flaw that was in the Hangul word processing program, the one that was the primary thing that was exploited, I think, during the WannaCry campaign. And then, of course, they're using spear phishing as well. So what are your thoughts on like nation states now attacking exchanges just to get cryptocurrency?
I think North Korea doesn't really have a choice, right? With all the sanctions that are going on right now, they can't eat. So.
That's a great point. I mean, that's actually what her name was, Priscilla Moriuchi, Director of Strategic Threat Development at Recorded Futures, said, "We believe that this targeting is a continuation of North Korea's attempts to use cryptocurrency as a means of circumventing sanctions and controls imposed by the international financial system."
Yeah, sure, but where would they cash it out at?
I mean, aren't there? Well, I guess there's. Maybe they
cash out in South Korea.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just whatever South Korean exchange. Maybe that's why the prices are so high there.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was reports in December on CNN from North Korea that they were had been mining Bitcoin heavily, and that they were celebrating their windfall from the Bitcoin jump this last fall. So to see them reach out and to attack other countries is, I don't think, unheard of.
I'm fairly certain I've never seen a North Korean picture that did not have a 1999 Dell computer in it. I'm really hard on trying to understand how they're mining Bitcoin, but
yeah. Well, how are they getting ICBMs?
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing things I think they're doing that we're all kind of like, what? No, is that possible? But exactly. I mean, onto your point about like, how would you convert this money over, right? I mean, if you just think about it, like if you lived in a society where you couldn't get your money in and out, and you could access the internet, I mean, you could probably start to come up with some ways to send somebody coins in exchange for other things, right? Or say, hey, we can't pay you in dollars, but I'll send you these coins, which you can exchange immediately for something, right?
And then you get places like MoneyGram taking on coins as well, and then you provide a means for them to kind of make that exchange. So depending on where it's accepted, but
whenever there's sanctions, there's money to be made, and people circumventing them. Whether you believe in the country or what they're doing, it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying somebody's going to try to make $1 off of that whole deal, right?
Yeah, somebody will make deals too. Yeah, they got allies. Yeah, for sure.
So think about it from this angle, though. There was a conspiracy theory, alleged conspiracy theory, that really North Korea is just trying to collect as much Bitcoin as they possibly can to have more like manipulation power over the market. But the more Bitcoin they have, the more like world capital they can control.
Yeah, but I mean, they'd have to be able to flex that cryptocurrency muscle somehow, and I don't see the nation as secluded as that really doing that. I don't know how they would influence the market, because they don't have any exchanges or anything like that in their country. So
right, but maybe what the attack would to like get it to, like, let's say the U.S. somehow, and then dump like billions and billions of dollars to just destroy the crypto market.
Sure. Yeah.
But they would kind of also be destroying their way of getting money now.
But because like burning your own bridge.
Well, hey, if they're getting billions in USD, I mean, maybe they could use that in a different way.
Yeah, they're a special place.
All right. On to the next article. This one is actually kind of interesting to me, about so the company VeChain, which is also a cryptocurrency. So the VeChain Foundation is the company. They have started the first ever cryptocurrency disaster recovery plan. And it was monitored, approved, and participated alongside with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. And what was interesting about this is they basically laid out a bunch of scenarios for various levels of risk, like with type 1 being a low level risk. So that'd be like an adverse event, like you loss of an exchange account login password, system crashes storing digital wallets, detection of virus or malware on the network. Type 2 is more of like a potentially our wallet was compromised kind of thing. So security incident. Unauthorized use of system privileges, devices that store digital wallets are affected by a virus or malware, hardware damage that damages a key store, or loss of a digital wallet transaction password. And then type 3 would be the full-on like private key compromise, right? And this would include compromise or suspect of compromise of private keys, key store files, or exchange account passwords, and two-factor authenticator. So it says that the foundation itself uses two different types of cryptocurrency storage methods, which would be your hot wallet and then a cold wallet as well. And I guess they actually went through testing out this whole disaster recovery plan a few days ago, and they simulated it, simulated all the worst case scenarios, and then went through the whole process. They said it took about like 6 hours to, go through transferring everything to new wallets. I guess they went through the entire process of straight up like generating new cold wallets, copying the amounts over to the cold wallets. So what do you guys think about like companies or like actually, like even entities like the Winklevi would probably come under some sort of idea like this to have like a disaster recovery plan for your crypto.
Yeah, I could have used that this weekend when I deleted my private keys.
I think the idea is good for disaster, like the disaster recovery process, but also makes me start to wonder if we're starting to move more towards regulation, because you get PwC involved and some of these bigger guys. You're starting to move more towards compliance and regulation, and then you're starting to, how does that roll? And like PCI, does PCI eventually start rolling in that direction as well? So really interesting to see this, because especially with all the big companies coming on now, and they're going to have some sort of regulation. So things are changing for sure.
I mean, compliance and regulation isn't always bad, right? A certain level of it is useful. I mean,
anarchy.
It's anarchy. We need it. But, I think that kind of to come to your central theme about, why that would not be the greatest thing is that, all these cryptocurrencies are about taking control of, your money and being able to do things faster and so on and so forth. So we kind of want to get rid of that middleman. That's what we're trying to take out. And usually when you have to deal with compliance and regulations, the middleman has to deal with that, not the consumer of that service or product or whatever. So, I mean, it's not horrible, but as far as back to your disaster recovery plan, I think it'd be a smart idea to have one of those.
So how long until an insurance company requires some kind of disaster recovery plan on your crypto before,
right.
and then they'll insure you for your cryptocurrency amount? I think that would happen eventually, not anytime soon, but.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting though, is that and this, I could be absolutely off base here, but I mean, can you insure $1 million cash? I mean, for $1 million, I don't know how that works. Could you just be like, I'm going to insure this $1 million. I don't want to lose it. I got it under my mattress. How does that work? But still, I mean, if you think about it, even the FDIC, the whole bank runs and all the other fun stuff back in Depression, I think it's like 250,000 or something. So anything above that, you're out if the government fails.
I mean, companies. This is talking about. I think corporations is who would buy into this kind of a service, but I think that's who they're talking about, and that having your assets. I don't know. What company holds their assets other than like a cryptocurrency company? And I don't know if they would buy into this. I don't know. I just think it's kind of skeptical.
Right. An exchange maybe, might be a good source, right? Because
nice hedge.
That would have been a great one to have a DRP plan.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the mention of like SOX 404 and ISO and all that stuff kind of scares people in the cryptocurrency, because everybody wants to be decentralized and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, control their own stuff. But I think in this kind of a case, when you're talking about, you want to secure your assets and stuff like that, having those standards in place is a great thing for the industry.
I mean, all these companies, they just don't want to. They want to hedge their bet, right? If something bad does happen, they would like to, either one, have a plan, and two, somehow be able to recover from that incident. So
we see this crossover into the InfoSec world with hacking insurance, basically, right? I mean, there's really how do you put a monetary value on your data and stuff like that? The same thing, I guess, is kind of coming over to the cryptocurrency world with this disaster recovery. I kind of see that going into the insurance market in the future for your stuff.
Sure. All right. So our next story is actually I saw a ton of websites reporting this. I guess there was a company. I actually can't pronounce their name really. It's a Russian cybersecurity group. It's a UK accounting firm. It's spelled EY. So I don't know if you say it like A, like EY. A. And then the Russian cybersecurity group, Group IB, Group IB. They basically reported that ICOs are literally losing $1.5 million due to various tokens and stuff being stolen every single month. That more than $370 million so far have been swiped. So it's crazy, like how many different ICOs are popping up all the time, and they're not putting in the effort to actually secure their assets. It's honestly, so Mike has been doing a good amount of research. He showed me some stuff this week into smart contracts and hacking smart contracts, and it's a lot of very simple stuff to look at. Like honestly, like I'll let Mike talk, but I mean, some of the stuff he showed me was like just switching like 2 lines of code, and you could have a bad day.
Yeah, there's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in these smart contracts, and and this is obviously specifically with Ethereum, so Ethereum dApps, and so a lot of it they go unchecked, right? So they're being pushed. These wallets are being pushed with these smart contracts, and they're triggering all kinds of transactions that occur. It's similar to, actually, it's exactly the same thing as one of the parity hacks. But the idea is that they're being deployed, and we're uncovering a whole new list of vulnerabilities that were not typically seen before, right? Because now we got race conditions that we got to worry about with timing. We have people that might be users of a token, but also be miners, and you can prioritize which transactions you're mining. So there's like all kinds of stuff there. There's stack limit size on these smart contracts. So the idea is you could exhaust the stack and then do stuff. There's things where you could take ownership of it and then kill it, which is what happened with Parity when those other transactions got locked, or those other tokens got locked. So there's just a range of them, and I think a lot of people are spinning up these smart contracts and deploying them to the network, and a lot of them will reuse the code, right? So there's like a simple token smart contract that's out there on GitHub, and somebody will reference it, and some blog will use that in their demo on how to roll your own coin, and then a bunch of people start using that code because it's all relatively new. And what you're seeing the same vulnerabilities perpetuate themselves in these different coins. So when I see 1.5 million a month or whatever it was, 15% of, I forget what it was, whatever you said it was.
10% of worldwide ICO proceeds.
Yeah, 10%. I mean, if you start looking at it, I would wonder, out of all of that, aside from the common vulnerabilities like, we'll talk about one in a little bit where they changed the Bitcoin address, or changed the address. When I wonder how many of these ICOs are actually like ERC20 versus rolling your own blockchain type producers, and I'm wondering if you could look at that to see if there's something there, because I know, like, just with the smart contracts, it's incredible how if you don't update the balance before you do the transfer, you have a reentry problem where I could call that transaction multiple times and basically use that to trigger transfers like over and over and over and just drain a wallet. And that's where it gets really interesting with these types of vulnerabilities that are coming onto the table now. So I'm not super surprised at these numbers. I'm surprised at how high it is, because that's just crazy, but at the same time, not really surprised just based on the one technology that I've really been focusing on this last couple of weeks. It's pretty serious.
Yeah,
it's pretty scary.
It's not surprising because you have literally all these other companies that are like, oh, hey, blockchain, I want to do that. And then they look up like, how do I make my own token? And literally it's like not that hard to go make an ERC20 token, especially if you just copy paste, like we were saying. And it sounds pretty simple to introduce flaws doing it that way. So I guarantee you most of these ICOs are just doing that.
Yeah, down in the lower in the Cyberscoop article, it talks about some of the techniques used to steal the funds, and it says that unsurprisingly, phishing is the most popular hacking tool employed during ICOs. So,
right, so that would be
probably just trolling to see them come out, and then just starting to phish.
Yeah, so I was on a Telegram channel for one of the ICOs last night, and it was just riddled with people trying to impersonate the admins of the ICO itself. Like the owners, like the admins of the Telegram channel, like had to continuously announce, like, hey, this guy over here, like we had to ban him because he was, trying to impersonate us. Like if you get direct messaged by any of us from, we're not going to ask you for anything. And I'm not completely surprised by that, but I mean, at the same time, it's a public Telegram channel, and, just joining it could make you a target to somebody trying to scam you out of some sort of coin.
Sure, and I think we're going to start seeing some of these Nigerian prince emails in our corporate environments, but instead of that, hey, you've won 10 Bitcoin.
Can we call it? Can we call it the Bitcoinian prince email?
Bitcoinian prince, yeah, sure.
You coined it.
and that's why we're gonna all get together. We're gonna come up with a super secure ICO, and we're about to launch it, and everyone can send us all their money, and it'll be perfect, right? Now that we've scared you, this is great.
You joke, but I actually pushed a coin, a ERC20 coin called Hacks. just playing with the technology, though.
Sure. No, and I think that we are going to see more of this. It's like blood in the water, right? Sharks are going to the tank, and people are saying they want to invest money in something that they think might be promising. It's interesting. It's kind of like the digital stock exchange, but like, only certain people can really go down to the stock exchange. And with like Telegram, it's just like letting the hobos in and just everyone's doing whatever. So anyways.
Oh man.
It's
all right,
funny, but
maybe we should move on. All right, so the last thing that I had here is actually not really like a security thing, but more of like almost like an ethics topic. All right, so let me give you a little background on this story. So the company that develops Sia coin, SIA coin, is called Nebulous. Nebulous recently, they have this company called Obelisk that's under them. So with the Obelisk company, they were basically going to create ASIC miners for Sia coin. The first ones ever, ASICs. And if you're in the mining world, you know that if you get an ASIC for a coin first, you're probably going to win. And so they announced that they had pre-sales for their Sia miner. It was around November of last year, of 2017, and with a shipping date they announced of June 2018. So just a few days ago, January 17th, VeChain, which is, as if you were in the mining community, they're a very well-known company that has developed countless ASICs. They, produce, they're probably the largest producer of Bitcoin miners, Litecoin miners, all ASICs. And they basically came out and announced a brand new Sia ASIC miner and immediately began selling them with a shipping date within like 10 days. So that made VeChain the first Sia ASIC to hit market, completely beating Obelisk by several months. All right, so when that happened, Sia revealed that there's an extra feature that would allow them to actually invalidate VeChain hardware without invalidating their ASIC miner, which is kind of blows my mind that like the owner of the coin could potentially manipulate the blockchain or the mining capabilities of another like physical miner through a soft fork. So, I mean, guys, what do you think about that? I mean, it's crazy, like to me, but I want to hear your thoughts. This is war.
I mean, this was my favorite article from this week, mainly just because it's just like all the makings of a movie almost. Like people going back and forth and like, this like whole underground world where, somebody starts a coin and we're going to make an ASIC. And then, this other guy's like, no way, you can't take our business. Anyways, but it's just, it's one of those scenarios where obviously the original, the Sia coin or the ASIC miner, they invested a lot of money to get this out, so on and so forth. And, VeChain just has the power to, come right behind them and just steal all the thunder. And the whole soft fork thing. And it's crazy to hear from the community back and forth about like, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And depending on which miner you bought, you might have a totally different opinion, right?
Absolutely.
I also heard that Bitmain was just like rebranding a miner with the new terminology to kind of market to that group. Now I don't know how true that is, but it does seem something is more fishy than just like, oh, I just came out with this new miner out of the blue that does this. So there could be kind of a cheap shot there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just like from a marketing perspective, I don't think you would have seen such a crazy increase in the hashing percentages. But after they announced that, like within a couple of days, it was like 34% growth in like Sia mining hash rate. So a huge focus group like absolutely started pointing their miners at Sia, which is likely the new ASICs that were being shipped out.
Yeah. What do we know off the top of the head what hash this uses? I mean, what did they already have ASICs? I'm assuming out.
Yes, that was the Blake. Hold on one second. It is the Blake 2B.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm assuming these chips had already been coming from the foundry. They already had working prototypes before they announced that they were going to sell it. I mean, this cat and mouse game right here.
Yeah, but I think the crushing factor is the fact that like the coin maker can manipulate the market by doing the soft fork. So I mean, our future is Bitmain going to be hesitant to come out with ASIC miners, depending on the coin and the potential for this to happen again.
Yeah, that's a great point. But also, the user has to accept the soft fork, right? They could go on and then you start getting hard forks. People are like, no, so you can see splits. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think what they were doing was best for that particular coin, but, somebody else makes a new coin that uses that same hash, then you know what? There's going to be plenty of ASICs for it. So,
yeah, sure.
All right. So that is it for our news for this week. Steve is going to walk us through a quick how-to on cryptocurrency mining. So take it away, Steve.
All right. So I often get asked, what miner do I use? And that's a compelling question because I use a lot of them, because there's basically a different one for each coin you want to mine. And depending on your hardware, whether you have AMD or NVIDIA, so there's tons of options, and you can see a lot of them on cryptomining-blog.com. And you'll see especially for like AMD, there's a different one compiled for every algorithm out there. And most of them haven't been touched in years. So for this episode, I kind of wanted to start off easy and tailor to the NVIDIA market on this one and just go with CC Miner. It's super easy. There's, unlike a lot of the other miners, there's an active fork on github.com. This is going to be a little bit of a contrived tutorial since you guys can't see my screen or anything. But so on github.com, if you go to tpruvot/cc miner, that's the latest release that I like to use. It's a CUDA 9 version and handles 57 algorithms. So it's quite robust in how many coins it can mine. And if you're just getting into mining, you probably want to start off with kind of like what is mining and how does it work and stuff like that. And we haven't really gone in depth on the show about that. So just point you off, go to bitcoinmining.com. There's a video right there at the front, and it's really informative and kind of takes you through the whole process. It's kind of a cartoonish video, but it's definitely worth watching. So if you're using an NVIDIA card and you want to get started mining, basically you can download from the releases folder on GitHub, unzip it and start CC Miner. You can open a PowerShell prompt or a command prompt. I don't know, people out there notice, but if you open the folder that you're in, for CC Miner. Once you've downloaded it, you can just right click in any of the Slack space, hold shift and right click, and then you can open a command prompt right in that folder, or a PowerShell prompt. And then you basically just run the CC miner-64.exe, give it a TAC A for an algorithm, and you'll give it whatever algorithm is for the coin that you're mining. And if you start CC Miner with a -- help, you can see all the algorithms that are listed that you can mine with. So it's as simple as pointing it at your desired pool, your desired mining pool, and just Google whatever one you want to find. There's a million of them out there. People swear by certain ones, and I don't think we're going to really endorse any specific ones at this point. So just find one that suits the coin that you're mining. Basically, give it a TAC O for your Stratum address. That's going to be like Stratum plus TCP :/ and then the address to the server that you're connecting to, including the port. And TAC U for the username. That's typically your wallet address. Some pools take a .worker name, so you give it like a custom name, .myminingrig or something like that. And then a -P for the password, and typically that's just like an X or whatever. It's not unless they're a mining pool using MPOS, MPOP, I think it is, like Mining Pool Hub, where you actually have to log in and give your workers a username and password. Most of them just take your wallet address as your username. So CC Miner is super, super simple. You fire it up. All you have to have installed is your NVIDIA drivers and CUDA 9. And that's it. You fire it up, and it's pretty informative on giving you your hash rate and when your samples are being submitted and accepted, and when they're not. So it's my go-to, kind of like a multi-tool of miners. It may not be the most efficient at certain coins, but once you get into mining, you can kind of feel around and see what's best for the system that you have. But I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would totally agree with you there. I've been using CC Miner a bit. I was going to ask I kind of know the answer to this already, but I want you to tell me your answer for it. But what's a good way to go about finding, like, if I'm just getting into mining for the first time, what's the best way for me to kind of decide what coin I want to go after? Besides just like popularity.
Sure. Yeah. So there's a great website out there called What to Mine. If you just Google what to mine, it's the first thing that comes up, and it's simple. It has most of the video cards that you can have in a system, and you can put how many of each card that you have in there, what you want to sort by, and it'll give you your power ratings. You can give it your electricity, kilowatt per hours, if you know that, and it'll do the math, and it'll tell you what's most efficient and most profitable for you to mine at any given time. I've written a PowerShell script that's on my GitHub on GitHub/RVRSH3LL. And it goes through what to mine, pulls out the JSON, and then basically does what's most profitable or what's most rewarding. So some coins, it may not be the most profitable, but you'll earn more of that coin at any given time based on the difficulty level and the hash rate in the overall pool. So what to mine is a great resource to start off with, and find out kind of what coins are easiest to mine for you, and then maybe do some more research on whether you want to hold on to them or if you're looking to kind of like make a profit on and turn them and trade them. So there's a lot that goes into it, as we all know, but I think that's a good place to start.
One of the things that I kind of liked about the whole idea of spec mining, I guess like the idea there is like you're finding coins that are really high supply levels, right? Like you had actually turned me on to Electronium, which was a very brand new coin a few months ago, which I at the time I don't believe it was even on an exchange then, and so I started mining it. And it's one of those coins you can mine a ton of pretty quickly.
Right, and that's kind of like when you're just starting off, right? That's what you want to see. You want to see that little number tick up. Oh, I've got half a coin, or I've got one coin, or I want that to be as high as possible. I don't care if this thing's worth 2 cents right now. I'm just trying to collect a bunch of coins. So yeah, so I think when you go to whattomine.com and put in your information, you can sort by difficulty, or if you use my script, you can sort by overall rewards. So whatever is most rewarding at this specific time to mine, and that's where you get the most bang for your buck.
The thing I really like about What to Mine is you have the different graphics cards already kind of preset in there, and they know like the specs on them for the certain hash rates, or for the certain the certain algorithms. And like you can go in there and say, hey, I have 2 GTX whatever, and it will tell you exactly the hash rate and the profitability for each of the coins that have certain different algorithms. That's actually really important too. Is like if your card is really good on certain algorithms but not others, you want to know that, and not just mine aimlessly.
Yeah, that's a completely other side of the spectrum too. Yeah, is making sure that you're being as efficient as possible, so that, like you said, your spec mining, your hardware matches up with what it mines most efficiently as far as the algorithm is concerned. So you put that into play as well, and What to Mine does that for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ralph or Mike, you guys got any questions?
Yeah, I did this a long time ago. I got out of it a while, so it's fun to see how much this has changed. Like What to Mine and other sites are around, but there's so many more hashing algorithms now. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and then you talk about coins like Verge that can take 7 or 8 different hashing algorithms to mine with, so that you can mine it with different types of hardware. So we're seeing that more often too in new coins.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy though. Definitely a way to kind of turn your power into money, I guess.
Sure, and I don't know if you guys saw this week, but NVIDIA has gotten to the point now where they basically are telling every vendor, do not sell more than 2 graphics cards to anybody, because there's just the prices of graphics cards, GPUs are just crazily inflating because of mining specifically.
Yeah, I actually recently bought a 1080 Ti, and I paid about market price, and then a couple days ago I saw an article about this, and I went and looked on Amazon and some other places. Like, what the $1,000, $1,200 for a card that was normally $700? Mm-hmm. It's just insane. Like, everyone's trying to jump into this race. So that's another thing to think about as well. But it's weird because when something is a product of making money, people are like, well, if it still makes me money, then it's worth paying a bunch more. And so that's kind of, as opposed to like playing a video game, I might just be like, well, I'll hold off on upgrading. So
I told Mike, I'm going to make a T-shirt for the podcast that has the NVIDIA logo on the front, and then at the bottom it just says, we don't sell to miners.
Perfect.
Anyways, all right. So we got a little bit more time to go into our ICO coin of the week, kind of deep dive. Again, like this is not anything like we're not trying to support any of these. It's just it's random ones that we think are interesting. And because we are information security people, we tend to kind of find these ones that have some sort of element in the InfoSec world. And so this week, the one we're looking at is Hacken. So it's hacken.io. And so Hacken, so this is their description. It says that they're an ecosystem that's a community-driven business organization created to nourish the connection between blockchain and cybersecurity communities, promote hacker ethics, and encourage legitimate research of computer networks and software. They say their ecosystem will allow customers to acquire high-quality penetration test services and vulnerability assessment for their products. So that initially caught my ear. I was like, oh, hey, some sort of ICO around pen testing. That sounds cool. And then the whole process, as well as findings, are timestamped and published on the blockchain, which I think is going to be really interesting to kind of dive into to figure out how they're doing that, because
that's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of scary, right? Like the findings are published on the blockchain. Yeah, so I mean, guys, thoughts on publishing findings on the blockchain?
Maybe it's just a hash, right? Maybe it's not the actual information. You need to repeat the finding.
Yeah, I don't know, first person to put script alert something in there is gonna lose. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea for. Well, I mean, to me, it seems like it opens more things that businesses would be concerned about as far as their data being going on the public blockchain. I think there'd have to be a way to filter what gets put on there from the research perspective, obviously. So I'm sure they have something like that in place. It's just be nice to see it.
So on their website, they have kind of a chart kind of showing how they compare to other companies that are similar, and they basically compare themselves to every bug bounty company that's out there. So I don't really see anything like that's like a standard pen test company, right, where you're selling a service of sorts. You know, that's the typical thing that most of us think of, having like an NDA with a vendor, and that would, to me, of course, be more private, I would think. But you have bug bounties, which a lot of that stuff gets posted anyway publicly after findings happen. So it might not be that big of a deal anyway, because if everything's just getting kind of posted on the blockchain, I mean, it doesn't sound like it's that much different than your typical bug bounty program.
Sure, and we were talking about smart contract hacking earlier. It looks like they offer smart contract audits as well.
Yeah, it's probably because there's a whole slew of tools that are coming up that are starting to spin up. Like there's a company called Zeppelin, and they do a really good job at putting a lot of information out there on their blog, and they have a open source framework for Ethereum. Ethereum, it's like a library, but it's an open source library for that does the whole deployment checks and audits and whole 9 yards. So a lot of these logical vulnerabilities can be identified using, like, it's more of like a vulnerability scanner. So I could see how the audit from that perspective comes, but they also look like they're doing audits from potentially doing it from like a code review audit. And if that was the case, then that would probably be just rolled to a team of experts and pay them in some coin or something. And I can see that being that way as well.
I'm just taking a quick look. It looks, I mean, I guess their ICO is already done. So I was going to take a quick look and see. Looks like they're actually trading currently on the Yobit market, the exchange. Just want to kind of see what the price is here. Curious. Looks like they were initially selling at ICO at like $1 per Hacken. So let's see. What are we looking at now? So it is right about $3.60 now. So it's definitely come up from their ICO, which is interesting. You definitely, you normally see those pretty big taper offs right after the initial to market, but it looks like, so as of December 16th, they've been on Yobit, and since then it's kind of gone up. So hey, good for Hacken token.
Yeah, they have like that whole burning principle where they're able to kind of keep it less volatile just by keeping that demand on their services that they have. So I wonder if that plays a role in that.
Yeah, if you zoom out to the full view of the graph, there's no dip, no real sell-off really from the ICO.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I kind of noticed about this is that I believe that it's completely based in the Ukraine. And I don't know if that means that like external companies aren't really allowed to participate in like the actual bug bounty side of it or not, or even on the assessment side or on the consumer side. I wonder if that is limited to Ukraine and Estonia specifically. So
Yeah, I don't see anything on here that really tells you.
But anyways, definitely just another interesting one to take a look at. If you are in the market to check out new coins that are coming out, specifically related to security. So there's that. Guys, do you have any closing remarks or anything you want to talk about before we kind of close it down? We're kind of getting towards the end of the hour.
No.
No, I'm actually pretty good over here. I think we kind of talked about all the things that I know we had on the list here, and I don't know, some pretty interesting things, and we'll see what next week brings, right? It'll be interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's seriously a week. Well, 1 week to another, there's always craziness in this world. We can definitely count on interesting stories probably happening as we speak. Actually, and I say that, but I did see one pop up while we were talking about armed robbers. Actually armed, like literally going in person to try to rob an exchange in Canada.
But I tell you, people are going to start getting black bagged.
Right.
Give me your key.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, I guess we'll go ahead and kill this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Mike, Ralph, and Steve for being on. We, definitely enjoy it, and keep an eye on coinsecpodcast.com. We'll post the episodes up there. We need to actually throw the show notes up there too. We haven't been doing that, but I think we need to throw some links up there.
Yeah, I'll call the dev.
Yeah, right. Maybe we just need to pay him more Bitcoin.
That's right.
Bitcoin?
Yeah, or with the fees, man. Maybe we should go with like Ethereum. Or something.
Let's go with something else.
Or Hack's token, right?
Yeah.
And then
transfer rights order.
Yeah. Follow CoinSec Podcast on Twitter. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. We will see you next week. Thank you guys so much for listening.
See ya.